the mechanic I built was an interactable box that lets the player eat these gnats and also talk to the NPCs. I wanted one system that can do both. It just makes it easier to set up. Takes 20 minutes to stop the gameplay. Alright, this starts with an overlap event that checks for the player, creates the widget that says E to interact, gives a boolean that the player is in a box, goes through a sequencer which will only actually be valid depending on the instance editable object for each one of these boxes. You can select the items here, but each box should only handle one type of object. For the NPC, it'll go down this line right here. It pulls the name given to the NPC to make sure that each spider gives a different response to the player. Sends a message to the player blueprint over here, which will save this information. Boolean that is in the box saves the NPC, saves their name, and saves that if they are food or not. In this case, with the NPC, this will be false. All coming from the interact box. And while they are in the box, they are able to press the E button. Well, they can press the E button whenever, but nothing will happen if they are not in one of the interactable boxes. But if they're in the box and they press E, it checks to see if this is food or not. In this case, it is not, because it's an NPC. It verifies that NPC one last time to make sure that this went off. It sends a message to that NPC with a specific with their specific name involved, because there are not multiple NPCs either. The only thing that differs from each of the NPCs is their display name, but their display name will give them different chat options. It'll play a sound and then move our counter up 1, saying we chat with a NPC plus 1. Back to the food, and that's everything with the NPC. If we check the NPC blueprint, that message coming in from the character again splits up to give different chat options. But if the player steps into one of the interactable boxes that has food on it, it goes to the same thing, make sure it's a player, gives you the widget, press E to interact, but goes down this pin, because both of these will be invalid. It goes down this pin, which will be immediately valid, because of the instance editable gnats that you select, which is an array, so there's an index, but it selects the first one, which is 0. Checks the food source. It is a food source, and sends that to the player, and also sends the information about being a box. You are inside of a box to the player. This is the food source. This is where you get the saved index of the food. But again, while they are in this box and they press E, it checks to make sure it is food, goes to true, verifies that gnat one more time, and sends a message to the caught gnat, a blueprint, which will just destroy the actor. Plays a sound, make it sound like you're eating. It gives a counter to the counter blueprint, again, +1 on food eaten. And then the most important step is increase the index of the array of gnats that you have in that specific box. So this sends a message back to the interact box, which will increase the index, and then send the new gnat back over to the player to make sure that that is saved on the player blueprint. Which is, yep, right here again. This is at the end of the overlap and at the end of each interact with a gnat, just to make sure the correct gnat is here when you press E one more time. Because if you never leave the box, this will never reset. So this makes sure that even if they stay in the box and eat all the gnats available, it'll go off. But as soon as that index is over the amount that is actually set, this will not go off either. And being inside the box means nothing. It will not go off or do anything. But that is everything to do with the interactable box and all the different options I can end up putting on this one box.